Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in a couple minutes. See a lot of people logging in, and thanks for joining. I think everybody's going to be excited about the content we have to share today, as I am, and looking forward to listening to the presenters. All right, everyone, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. We'll go ahead and kick off in 1 minute. Thanks again, everyone, for joining today's session. A lot of people logging in. This is great to see. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get the party started. And again, my name's Greg Moser, president of CompuSoft Digital. I'll be moderating this series, and the expert audience that the speakers that we have on today. Just very quickly about CompuSoft, we are a fanatically focused Microsoft frontier business partner focused on business apps, data, Power Platform, Copilot, transformational services, et cetera. Been in business for about 25 years, 500 employees. And again, this kind of gives you an illustrative example of what we do. But today, we're here to talk about an exciting topic around AI and what does it mean? Just real quick around the rules of engagement, we're going to have 5 questions that we're going to round robin to our keynote speakers. We're going to have 6 to 8 minutes per topic, and the topics are relevant, top of mind on what everyone's looking at from a Agentic AI perspective. And then we're also going to have time at the end to ask the experts additional questions from that standpoint. And what are we doing today? We're trying to demystify AI, and our thought leaders are going to talk about their points of view on what does it mean. There's a lot of noise out there, but there are some foundational best practices on where you should start. And what we want to do is we want to bring balance into this discussion. So we have a great mix of speakers. We have folks that live and walk your shoes daily. Arnold from a customer perspective, Pooja from a product perspective, and then John from a professional service perspective. And then just so ecstatic to have this team on the call today. So thank you, presenters and keynote speakers, for attending today's session. A little bit about Arnold. As you'll learn, he is a visionary, a disruptor, and an innovator in this space. He also drives balance, playing a CIO, CTO role, bridging the barriers between business and IT to really focus on delivering outcomes. And when you look at the outcomes that Arnold's delivered over his career, he's been the CIO of 1-800-Flowers, helped grow them from 35 million to over $2.2 billion. So think about that growth and all the balance that you have to drive, the people, the systems, the processes, and dealing with shareholders and customers and things like that. Over the last 3 years, he has built the predictable, repeatable, scalable model, that cross-pollinates against e-commerce, agentic AI, large language models in a heterogeneous environment. Arnie has walked the walk. He's, lived a day in the life of your shoes. And Arnold, just very excited to have you on the call. So thank you so much. Next, would love to introduce Pooja, who, I've been working with this platform since 2003, and just the things that she's doing and the team are doing are just revolutionary. Pooja is the head of the product for AI and intelligent business apps. She's, leads that team. She's worked at Microsoft, IBM, SAP, and HCL, so has a good balance of what customers need and what products should be delivering from that standpoint. Pooja is at the front, the front end of this. I mean, she is driving the technology. I mean, just the releases that we're seeing, the value that that team is driving. I mean, it's just amazing to see. And Pooja, I have to say, I'm a fan. So if you wouldn't mind signing an autograph at the end of this, I'll be more than happy to, get it from you. And then, she is absolutely a subject matter expert, but more importantly, a wonderful human being. So, Pooja, thank you so much for taking time. Excited to have you on this conference. And then last but certainly not least is Mr. John Rosti. He is our CTO and VP of Strategy at CompuSoft Digital. Have worked with John for many years. John recently was also awarded one of the top 50 fastest growing CIOs, CTOs in the market by CIO Review. John's been working in the Microsoft ecosystem for over 25 years. Thought leader. He works directly with our partners, Microsoft and the product team, and then also works with our customers, learning about how to incorporate these best practices and really drive the innovation that we're going to talk today. So you're going to hear a lot about balance. And I think when we look at the keynote speakers, we have the customer point of view, we have the product point of view, and then we have the professional services point of view. So with that said, we're going to move into the fireside chat and the question piece. So as mentioned, we do have 5 questions, and we're just going to round robin and get everybody's point of view. In the chat window, if you have questions towards the end of the event, we'll have time for Q&A and things along those lines. So the first question is, what excites you the most about the agentic AI shifts we're seeing in the marketplace today? John, I'm going to pass that question to you, and floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. So I think we're going to start off with that by saying what excites me the most is today is probably going to change drastically, again, within probably the next, 60 to 90 days. But I mean, honestly, we're entering into a new phase of AI where systems just don't assist. They're actually driving our outcomes now. We're seeing systems that can plan, act, and learn continuously within enterprise environments. They're connecting data, processes, and applications without any type of explicit human prompts across things like sales, service, or operation systems. And those are bridging all of those silos of data and outputs together in actionable tasks. That not only are the agents doing themselves, but on the human actions that sits behind them. For a lot of our business leaders, this means a lot of less, manual process management. So that's exciting right there, because we're really able to now not just get focused more on data summaries. It's more the task management where now those leaders, focusing now more on strategy. It's changing how we're collaborating with technology, the most. And so instead of actually issuing a lot of our commands, we can actually have it set goals and objectives. So that's just my really kind of quick things. I think that's what excites me the most, Greg.
Yeah, a lot of moving shifts. And Pooja, from your point of view, I mean, you get to kind of build the technology from the ground up. So we'd love to hear from you. What is kind of getting you energized around this space?
Yeah, I totally agree with John. Things, market is shifting, technology is shifting. But what excites me the most is the shift in the mindset. The transformation that we're witnessing is huge, where people were wary of AI. It was to now they become genuinely curious about it, excited about the art of possibility. Not too long ago, AI felt like a mysterious scientific box, something only experts or data scientists could know or use. It was a powerful tool, but distant, hard to trust, hard to explain. But now we've crossed that tipping point. I love how AI is becoming more accessible, transparent, conversational. You don't need a PhD degree in machine learning to create an agent. Everybody can create an agent just by giving simple prompts. I love how AI is being democratized, and it's no longer about building model. It's about applying that intelligence to solve real problem. Like John said, it's not even about asking questions. Now you're seeing the shift where AI is preempting the problems. It's taking action for you. And we've also seeing the shift in customer conversation as well. Like you said, I've been developing AI technology has been part of my life for a very long time. But I see a huge shift when I talk to customers. Not so long ago, when we used to talk about AI, customers like, yeah, AI is fine, but what are you doing in core product? Now they ask, how do I transform my business with AI? What can I do more with AI? And this is what excites me the most, where We, by building our products like Copilot, agents like sales qualification agent, sales close agents, we are actually making these tools where AI is approachable, actionable, outcome focused, and we're entering this new era where technology doesn't do work for you, it works with you. And that excites me the most.
Yeah, that's exciting times. And, I remember, as a young kid going into Toys R Us and I would see all the toys and the bright, shiny objects, and I was just a kid in a candy store. Arnie, you've lived it, 735 million, 2.2 billion. I can only imagine the fun that you've had from that standpoint. So, what excites you?
I think it's the rate of rapid change, Craig. I mean, Pooja and John are right. I mean, to have accessibility, making this technology tangible. And we think back 3 years, November of 2022, we got a new version of Google at the time. It was a ChatGPT prompt instead of a Google prompt. And that was an incredible transformation in a very short period of time because it was a related pattern. Something that we were used to doing is putting in a couple of words and getting a response. And in ChatGPT's point of view and OpenAI, when they launched that, all of a sudden there was a lot of extra information that was being available, and you didn't have to go much further to discern the answer from the models.
Mhm.
Look at where we are now. We're at a point where the mindset is completely changed.
Yeah.
Technology is tangible. And that's the excitement is what the collective world has learned in 3 years about AI in comparison to the previous decade.
Mhm.
The velocity and acceleration is just super, super exciting. And that's what gets me is the velocity right now is so rapid. And so that from a leadership standpoint, when and how do you make those decisions? And we'll get into that a little bit later today.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points of view. Acceleration is really kind of driving the mindset shift. Interesting. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to move into the next question. And again, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And yes, we will be sending the recording out in the PowerPoint presentation after the event. So, next question: what is driving the sudden tidal wave of interest around AI agents? I mean, all we hear about, Pooja, is AI, agentic AI, and the benefits and the use cases. I mean, from your point of view, I mean, how do you focus and how do you drive to the relevant areas?
Yeah, it's a combination of multiple things. On one hand, organizations are under tremendous pressure and they see that this technology can help.
Mhm.
There is a pressure of changing customer expectation. We are moving in a very fast-paced world where customers expect you to understand their need and deliver instantly. In India, you can get anything in 10 minutes now. And
Mhm.
that's what people expect from everything when you talk about delivering information, delivering products to your customer. On the other hand, economic pressure is huge and it's real. Everyone is being asked to move to do more with less. And this here people are seeing how technology can help. Let me give you an example from the domain that I work in, which is the sales domain, where study shows that nearly 60% of the time customers buy from the company that respond first. So what does this mean? Sellers need to be on top of their toes. They need to be aware about every prior interaction. They need to be
Mhm.
ready to pick up where the customer left off because nobody wants to explain and repeat themselves. There is a continuous expectation on personalization, knowing, delivering fast. But traditional systems have reached their limit. They can, of course, automate tasks, but they can't think with you. You can definitely search for information only if you have added that information, which people hate. And
Mhm.
but they don't give you insights, they don't recommend action, let alone do things for you. And that is where AI agent is changing the game, where AI agent can reason across data, adapt to the context, take initiative. That's a completely new level of way the business is getting transformation. And the other dimension is technology itself, where the large language models today, they can understand the intent, it can interpret nuances, act within the safety of the guardrails and boundaries that you've provided, and it's no longer reactive. Like how John and Arnold was mentioning, that you don't even now have to wait and give prompts. It has become agentic, where it's able to identify needs, it's able to identify what happens next, and then take actions for you.
Mhm.
And finally, the transformation is coming from human readiness, because AI is no longer a mysterious box like I was talking
Mhm.
earlier. It's visible, explainable, integrated into the way people already work. Now, whether it's helping sellers to prioritize their deal or assisting service agents with insights, people are starting to see and trust the value. So, this wave is really about trust meeting capability. For the first time, AI isn't a separate system or an
Mhm.
experiment. It's becoming a teammate that can trust you and one that can work with you. And that's bringing that wave of shift.
Yeah, and it's moving fast, changing the
Yeah.
mindset. And Arnie, I can only imagine, I mean, just the bright, shiny things that get thrown at you as the CIO. I mean, what are you seeing and how do you handle, just the speed and, the ask from your point of view?
The wave has been very interesting as the agentic structures started to be presented to the market and understanding from a customer's perspective how that can help. The evolution in 3 years. The first presentation to senior leadership was we were going to experiment with a new product from Microsoft Copilot, and it's going to be integrated to Office 365. And we were an early adopter, like early adopter, 2.5 years ago.
Mhm.
Boy, those were rough meetings. You're going to do what? And how is that going to work? And it's a tool, and how, what, the millions of questions. You start out small, you start chipping away at it. Um, Microsoft continued to deliver on every aspect of what they said the tool was going to do. And now we're at that point where the agents are available, they're
Mhm.
tangible, they're in verticals, as Pooja represents the sales side of Dynamics 365. They're tangible functional definitions of this is how this can help you. 2.5, 3 years ago, we were all sitting around saying, what are we going to do with this? Now we're on the other
Mhm.
side saying, okay, it's tangible. There's pressure to perform, pressure to deliver. It's not a 6-month delivery cycle, it's a 60-day delivery cycle. And it's that incremental capability that of incremental value that you can see daily, weekly, and see the change in the organization as you adopt. It's been fascinating to see just in the last 9 months and how it's
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah, great points of view. John, I mean, what are you seeing? I mean, from a professional services point of view, tons of use cases thrown your way. I mean, what are you seeing that's driving this wave right now?
Yeah, I'm going to 100% agree with both Arnold and Pooja. Coming from a realization that the underlying capabilities have started to really change. We've moved away from that prompt-based models, as Pooja, was talking about, to that agentic, framework that can actually start to reason about our goals. They can call APIs. We can use tools and start to collaborate with other agents now. So I really kind of see that wave is driving just so much more realism, as Arnold was talking about, which I think is really kind of sparking a massive rethinking of how business and technology collaborate. Kind of like going from like how AI can help me to what outcomes can AI help us achieve for us going forward.
Yeah, yeah, great points of view. Arnie, I'm going to throw you an audible. So get ready.
Okay.
Words of wisdom for people in your position and CIO position that are getting all these bright, shiny objects thrown at them. What are some of the best practices to drive organizational alignment and consensus from your point of view?
What's the business objective? When you're really getting bogged down with a lot of things at once. What's the objective?
Mhm.
What are the North Star metrics of the business? What are we trying to accomplish? Or is there a specific problem that we need to go to address like now that's bubbled up? Is there an opportunity to apply new tech, or do we need to fix the old tech stack? Every situation, every one of those presents a different set of parameters to the equation. From a ecosystem standpoint, you have to have some set of foundational tools for you to be able to not only execute new requests, but also do repair cycles and update cycles. So as you go through this process, you need to be able to leverage the tools in your toolbox. And Copilot, Microsoft Platform, Power, Office 365, Dynamics 365, whatever those platforms and whatever that ecosystem looks like, it is very important to see the value proposition as it relates to how agents can not only be created, but can be driven on a daily basis. So it's a balancing act, Greg. It's not something that, is like, okay, what currency are we dealing with today? Is it
Yeah.
time, people, dollars, loss
Mhm.
of revenue, increased sales opportunity? What is it?
Mhm. A lot of moving parts for sure.
Yes.
I can only imagine the fun that you had, bridging those business IT barriers into outcomes, and you see it with the revenue lift that you had at 1-800-Flowers. So interesting times, yeah, for sure. All right. So next question that we're going to ask is, look, there is a lot of noise out there, and this can be a confusing journey on where do you start. Look at Gardner's hype cycle around artificial intelligence, and if you look at 2023 compared to 2024 compared to today, I mean, literally it's flipped upside down about 100 times. But one thing is clear. You cannot afford to be a laggard. You cannot afford to be late to this dance. If you are, you will be left behind. Again, we have not seen this transformational shift since the internet, and as long as I've been in this particular space. So, it can be scary, but Arnie, how did you break down the multimodal AI barriers, and what does it mean? I mean, there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace, and you've lived and breathed this over the last 12 years. I mean, from your point of view, I mean, what does it mean? What is the baseline?
Thanks, Greg. I mean, the 3 years, right? We step back for a minute. Multimodality in the form of AI refers to artificial intelligence systems that can process, integrate, and generate outputs from multiple types of data inputs known as modalities, right? So the typical alignment is some level of text and data, and possibly images, audio and video. And we're seeing that, right? We've all been goofing around with Sora AI and the videos that you can make and so forth. That's recent, but that also comes from compute and infrastructure capabilities that we have today that we didn't have 3 years ago, right? So everybody's moving at lightning fast speeds, breakneck speeds. The integration of these modalities is where we are. Like we start to see some tangible capabilities between text only chatbots, which is 10 years of my career and working through that. We did 5 generations before the LLM burst on the scene, and we developed a LLM based chat capability in 4 months. The
Wow.
prior generation took almost 18 months to build out. And so when you start to embrace the tools in context, this is important. Not everything needs to be AI day one, but in context with the right set of tools, evaluate your tools, get into that early, right? We say don't be late to the party, right? Start with what tools? What fits the ecosystem? Not everything is secure at the same levels that we'd all like it to be, and everybody's got different security policies. Make sure you get your security team involved because they're, whether or not they want to admit it or not, they're using AI to help secure the enterprise. Don't let them tell you they're not using AI because chances are they are. And the idea is get them involved, partner with them. And from a business point of view, what are the requirements? Get into the requirements. Can we apply it? Is this the proper time to go try something? Did we get some new tools in the toolbox? So these models often use different techniques like fusion, early where there's a combination of data input level and late fusion with separate models, maybe processing separate modalities. But you get to figure that out. That's the fun part,
Yeah.
right? You do your research, do your homework, understand it, be curious, ask a lot of questions. It's okay. Keep asking questions. That's the beauty of Copilot. It's actually coded to give you a response. You're allowed to ask it any question you want. It never gets tired. It is a great tool. Any of the models are great tools. Just start using it daily.
4 months. How many users did you support, Arnie?
Well, visitors will, at Warner Flowers, from a public filing standpoint, 20 million orders a year.
Wow.
Contact points with customer service, we're in the millions, right? Sessions on chat during specific times of the year, Christmas holidays, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, you can imagine the volume there,
Oh, yeah.
right? So you get into some pretty heavy volume and you get into some weird spots. That's the fun part of AI is not everything is always black and white. There's a little bit of gray in there. And you have to be able to understand that you're going to deal with variations of gray. It's not always black and white.
Wow. 20 million customers, 4 months. Yeah, sounds like you were very busy, very busy, impressive. John, from your point of view, what are you seeing around multimodal AI, the transformation, et cetera?
Yeah. I really take a look at the graph that you've got shown here and really kind of shows that, that curve as to, where you are, and I really would like, everybody on this call, this webinar call, to really kind of look at it from their perspective, not from their team's perspective, not from their companies or where they're at, but where they are in terms of this car. I mean, are you an early adopter? And then, here's where it can be very difficult. I struggle with this quite a bit because as we mentioned before, AI is changing so rapidly. I mean, Pooja, I think we've been talking for months and months and months now, and the way that the conversation started about, hey, we're gonna have all these autonomous agents, we're gonna have it doing this, and we're talking about ICP, and we're talking about all these different inputs into the system and what we're gonna get out of it, and to see where we are today, you do have to have that balance of where you're going to early adopt, where do you want to go into it, but understanding what that is. Arden, you make a really really good point. I'm probably going to say this a couple different times, is understanding what your use case is. What are you trying to solve? What are you trying to use? And when you look at a multimodal AI, what that really is that model can now process and reason over multiple data capabilities such as text, images, video, audio, and code in a unified way. So think about it in that perspective. I mean, we had some use cases around insurance where we were literally monitoring, email information that's coming in from our members about maybe a claim that they want to open up or an incident that happened, and actually take that data, that included images, of an accident, and they were actually able to use the AI and look at it and say, hey, this particular image, this was a crash incident, or potentially this could be, fraud because it, looks like someone hit this with a hammer a few times rather than anything else. So they were actually able to do that very quickly. But going back over to the use cases, that's what's going to drive this. And understanding, obviously, AI is going to be moving very quickly. But thinking about where you've got your processes across, again, multi-model, again, text, images, video, code, all these things are now put into one place, and it's helping us bridge, kind of going from a chatbot, to now to a coworker, helping us automate those processes through.
Yeah. And Pooja, I can only imagine, I mean, just the amount of customers you support is pretty significant. So I'm sure you're getting thrown every requirement as well. And, how do you start and what does it mean to you? And how do you kind of navigate all this?
Yeah, I think it really depends on where you are, like how you're showing this chart here. And Arnold, I would like to congratulate you and thank you for being such a big partner. you guys are really innovators. And those of you who are not aware, 1-800-Flowers not just adopted this technology early, it used our multi-model AI, the voice bot,
Yes.
for a very important Valentine Day volume handling.
Yes.
Who takes a risk of doing something on a such a special occasion are innovators. And that's where you can create the impact and handle volume. Look at the amount of the business that you can grow, how you can compete with your competitors where people are taking these calls, and talking about taking 50,000 calls in a day. And these
Wow.
are special occasions where if you are an innovator, you can lead and leave your competitors behind. And
Yeah.
it's really depends on where you are and what do you want to
Mhm.
achieve. Like he was talking about business outcomes that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the scenarios that we are building, we are really using this multi-model AI in
Mhm.
almost all technological scenario. It's like John said, simply it's that AI is not just reading or writing. Just
Mhm.
like human, it can see, listen, act, and bring all these signals together, like how people would naturally do. It's very close to how you work today.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I always look at OpEx reduction, revenue uplift, but man, if those Valentine flowers do not get to my wife on time, then I'm in the doghouse. So now I need to factor that in. Quality of life at home is a
Uh,
benefit. And just, anyone want to kind of talk about like just, all the different noise that we're seeing and how to navigate it? Pooja, maybe, I mean, just from your point of view, I mean, how do you determine where to start and what to kind of push away and move to like additional phases from a maturity curve perspective? I'm just curious from that standpoint.
I think it really depends on what problem are you trying to solve, and
Hmm.
what technology can help you. I don't think
Hmm.
you should think about, which one of these should I use. Don't
Hmm.
approach the problem from a technology standpoint. Think about the problem that you have and
Hmm.
see what you were talking about these candies and toys, which,
Hmm.
it is really like how you think about which candy I like, and you pick it up.
Hmm.
You don't look at the candy and start thinking about
Hmm.
what do you want to do with it. So
Hmm.
think about your problem, what you want to solve, what are the business outcomes that you're looking for, and
Hmm.
pick the right technology, the right model that works for
Hmm.
you. And believe that AI can do a lot more than you expect it to. Test it,
Yes.
it, try to break it, and see, what can it do for you, and can it manage these kind of volumes?
Mhm.
Can it manage your requirement? Can it understand the sentiments when people are talking about? When we talk about multimodal, it can do a lot more than just read or
Mhm.
write. And
Yes.
that's what I would say. Think about it from your problem standpoint.
Yes. Not always about the technology. It's about the inherent business processes and problems that we're going to address and solve. And Arnie, when we look at your technology stack, we talked about Microsoft and Copilot. What else did you have in that symbiotic, kind of baseline that you created? I mean, what were some of the technologies that you put together?
well, a large part of it, Greg, it's funny listening, to discussion and how do you make these decisions? It is about business goals. It's not about technology goals. And what I would say to the audience is have confidence that the AI is going to be really good when you need it at
Hmm.
this point. Right.
Yeah.
So now it's get back to the basics, roll up your sleeve, what problem you're trying to solve. In
Mhm.
our stack, we had a little bit of everything. And the reason is I give my kids, when they were younger, I gave them a bit of advice. You should always create yourself some options. When you have options and choice, you have more power at your fingertips. And so when we approach problems or challenges or technological advancements, it's always good to have different points of view. And so we had, in our stack, we had GCP, we had Azure, we had different aspects of our e-commerce platform on GCP, but we were running all of our back office integration, data flows, and capabilities inside the Azure world. And that was important. Why? Because that's where we kind of pinned our data, our corporate data, which was tied directly to the platform of Snowflake sitting on top of Azure. But Microsoft had, through the Azure control and hosting, we drove all of our decision making in and around how to keep the backside of the operation secure, keep our data secure, while reasonably accessible. And you're all going to learn this depending on where you are on this wonderful curve here. At some point, you're going to start to realize you need an awful lot of information at your fingertips in order to allow AI to be really relevant in your decision making and capabilities. And I'm specifically talking more about telemetry and signal data than I am talking about the base training data. 3 years ago, we were, oh my God, we got to build a data lake. We got to govern all of our data, make sure it's clean, and then train a model. Well, we're kind of past that point. The models are so well trained, we just need to pass it some context. So companies that start to get really good at actioning their telemetry using AI as their base will really start to take on some real growth in the next 2 to 3 years. Agents can't function without telemetry.
Yeah.
You'll need the
Good point.
telemetry in order to do that. So
Yeah. Spot on. Yeah.
fun times.
Yeah. John, where do you see customers starting, in these AI journeys, just from your point of view?
Yeah, as I look at, across them, many of the attendees on this call, based upon, myself using, early adoption, maybe even, a lot of beta, AI, components, I would really kind of tell everybody on this call very quickly. I mean, those that were early adopters in this, if you've looked at, some of the, AI, tools out of Microsoft Copilot Studio, where they were, just a few, couple of years ago is not where they are today. So I'm urging everybody that did take a look at some of those technical components and said, yeah, you know what, we ask it a question and we get different responses. So much has changed in those early adoption years. I urge everybody to kind of go back to those use cases, revisit them, because I can tell you a lot has changed inside the system that's gonna, really kind of like help you, build trust and confidence into those applications. So go back to those early years if you were early adopters. Because the technology, as Arnold had said, I mean, it's not about the technology, like even what Pooja said, so much now, that's kind of taken out of it. So urge you to go back and take a look at it again.
Yeah. And ask yourself, where are you from a mindset perspective on this bell curve? And where is your organization? And what do you need to do to ensure that AI drives those benefits? So, yeah, great discussion point on that. So, next topic's a little difficult, from that standpoint. I mean, everybody sees a lot of people are fearing AI and that's going to take my job and, things like that. Terminator is going to come down and take over the world. We talked about bringing legal and compliance in, HR, those types of things. But, John, how do you ensure trust? How do you get that confidence up, transparency and adoption? I mean, a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome. I mean, what are you seeing? What say you?
Yeah, I really like where you started that, Craig. And it really does, looks at your North Star, as from a technologist. you want to have a North Star. You're going to have that absolutely planted out there. Here's our goals and objectives. And a lot of that trust and adoption, should be built and included into your system architecture just as much as your user experience. I mean, when you roll out those apps, okay, that AI, is going to be included right into that architecture and test. So what we have typically done with all of our other customers that have again had a lot of questions about this, we have started with the data integrity and security. We ensure that every agent operates within governed environments and logs every single action. And then what we do once that's secured and we have like the process and the resources that surround that now, then we can add that explainability, components such as surfacing with reasoning, data sources, and adding confidence levels behind AI driven action that's behind that. Transparency is also is not going to happen, with a lot of the visibility. Admin should be able to see, what the AI did, what it's doing, what outcomes it achieved, and that combination builds both technical confidence and organizational readiness. Just as what's been released inside the Copilot Studio capabilities is its own, now there's a full-blown component now where I can literally test each one of these and drive and monitors each one of these outcomes. So again, the confidence and trust before we actually kind of click on publish and releases out to the team, whether that's with new or existing functionality, those admins can see all the different results, and it's going to score things and give everything right down in front of those administrators so they can interact with those systems. So again, no longer are we starting to see, same question, multiple different answers. Those are all now being scored inside the system to aggregate it. But visualizing that, from an administrative IT perspective, I think that's a really big game changer in ensuring we can add trust and making sure that our users are going to adopt that.
Yeah. And Pooja, I can imagine you get this question asked all the time, right? With the amount of customers. I mean, how do you respond and what are some of the things that you look at doing from a product perspective?
Yeah, I do think trust and transparency are nice to have. They are the foundation for adoption. Just like how Arnold and John mentioned, AI now is no longer about having the right data set to train it, or having the right technology. The technology is there; it is fully trained. But what really drives adoption are three things: control, transparency, and outcome. And let's talk about these one by one. Organization, they really need to feel that they are in charge of what AI can do. And we ensure that we provide those ways for them to define guardrails, for them to set these definitions, to give access to limited set of data where organization can control and define which actions are allowed to take, what data AI can access, where it should escalate to human. Before rolling out anything, organizations need ability to test, simulate, validate these things. And it's important for us to provide those tools for you to validate these things, test it in real environment. Transparency, and John spoke about transparency here, where it's not just about seeing the output, it's also understanding what's happening behind the back. Organizational need to see the reasoning, how AI is working, what data it used to make decision, what steps it took, how it planned to do next action. And that's where we built these dashboards, and we use what we call AI supervisor view in all our D365 products, where you can view and monitor agents in real time. You can see what's going on. It always allows you to take control back. You can do whatever you want and have full control over AI and see what's happening fully transparently. And that's what builds trust. And the third aspect is evaluation. And John was also talking about evaluation and evals. I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about evals, and it's a buzzword going on in AI world these days. What eval does is AI is an indeterministic solution. It's not that every email will be written exactly in the same way. And thus, it's hard to measure the accuracy in the results. And what we do is we provide organizations to build ability to see these evals, you can have measure the quality, accuracy, and reliability against your own business specific data. We not just do evals on our own before publishing. We give you capability to measure eval on your data, and we even publish benchmark eval comparing our agent with other solutions in the market so that you have full transparency on the underlying capability and decide what fits the best for you. This visibility builds confidence. So unless your tool give you control, transparency, and proof of outcome, adoption will always be limited. One of the biggest
Mhm.
reasons why Copilot is being adopted is because Microsoft runs on trust. And
Mhm.
when all these three move together, that's where organization move from experimenting with AI to embracing AI and really adopting it.
Yeah, you've done some amazing things with the product to give us those data points, right? To gain that trust. And Arnold, I can only imagine, 20 million customers, sure you had a couple internal users using that. You talk about seasonality, having to onboard, hundreds, thousands of users. I mean, how'd you navigate that?
Carefully. A little gray hair in the beard, but yeah, it is a trust, right? And I'm listening to the conversation. I was looking for an analogy. AI has been a wonderful accelerant. It has allowed us to do more in a given day. If you embrace tools, tools are supposed to make you more efficient in what you are capable of doing. It enhances your skills and capabilities. And so if you think back when you had your first computer versus where your computer is today and the functionality and capability that it has, it's kind of the same. It's just very fast. You can store more data, you can retrieve more data, you're more trained to use the tools that are presented to you. The AI world is sort of the scrutiny that's involved, and Pooja used the right word, indeterministic, where it's not 100%. Everybody gets anxious, right? One of the very first meetings we started talking about licensing Copilot as an early adopter. I had 3 or 4 meetings with our general counsel. We wanted to set up an appropriate AI policy within the company, and part of that is that just protection of data. The multi millions of customers that we serve, you want to make sure that their data is secure. So there's so many different ways to approach. And the idea is most companies already have this capability and they're already organized that way. Most have legal departments, most have operations departments, most have sales departments, most have development, software development in case of e-commerce in our case. But the idea is leverage those teams, get them involved, have those conversations early. We're thinking about introducing a new tool. Those are usually pretty interesting meetings because you get those early responses back. Oh my God, we can't do that. Or how do we trust our data and blah, blah, blah. And the answer is the data is not being moved around anymore. You get to hold on to your data in the ecosystems. Microsoft and all the other wonderful competitors in the marketplace right now have done a great job of making sure your data stays within your ecosystem and doesn't really move well beyond the 4 walls. So we could do a whole different session, Greg, on transparency, trust, and adoption. But the idea here is just keep partnering, keep having those conversations, break down those barriers, be curious, ask a lot of questions, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, and then put the use cases in front of the appropriate constituents. I
Yeah.
mean, we miss like legal and HR and all those, we're so
Yep.
focused on the technology and the business outcomes, but that's where we get blocked. So I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in some of those conversations that you have, Arnie, and can only imagine how they went, but you're able to kind of push through those. Yeah, exciting stuff. So we're going to move into our last question, for the day, and then we're going to kind of close out with just closing comments from each of our thought leaders on this particular session. But you know, talk to me, Arnold. What are what do people need to do? I mean, what are the best practices if you had to kind of list those out from your point of view?
I would say, this has been a great discussion, and we've covered a bunch of topics, and I don't necessarily want to repeat all of them, but I do want to emphasize a couple of points here, Greg.
Mhm.
One is curiosity. Have the conversations. One thing COVID, created was this remote work for a while. We're out of the remote work capability. Get in the office, go talk to your peers, have conversations. If you can't get in the office, make sure you're setting time aside in your calendar. Have these conversations like a stand-up, even if it's a 10-minute call. The idea is drum up the interest. It may be a technology play, but so what? It's still a business that has to operate and run. And the idea here is the curiosity piece, best practices. And the answer is Greg, as much as we have had some wonderful success, we don't necessarily talk about the failures, the mistakes, the retries, the redos, and all that. But you got to have confidence that you're going to try. And if you try because you're fulfilling that curiosity or a series of questions, you'd be pleasantly surprised. Why? The industry is doing a great job, I believe, led by Microsoft in a lot of ways, to drive this whole wave of AI. It is super exciting to see, and the progression has been incredible. That's why I'm saying just try it now, because in 6 months there's going to be a solution in place. And you're going to go, I just need that. Okay, but you can accept that now because you
Yeah.
went down and you've already been on the journey for a while. First bit of advice, if you're not in it, just get in it. Doesn't matter what it is, try it, be curious, talk to a trusted partner. If you're not quite sure and you want to get your bearings, ask questions, talk to a trusted partner.
Yeah. Great comment. And yeah, we talk about the positives, but yeah, I mean, you have to fail to succeed, and you just fail fast, right? I mean, Arnold, what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome? Just curious.
Early learning curves. Early learning curves, I would say more than anything. We have been in the conversational commerce business for 10 years. We were always early adopters. We did some fascinating work with Facebook Messenger back in 2016. And so we've been in it for a long time. And the objective there is what's next? How do we improve it? How do we, that worked great yesterday, do more of that, but stay away from this. It's that driving force that, and things change over time. Accept
Mhm.
the fact that they're going to change,
Yes.
right? With change comes opportunity. And boy, are we getting a lot of change right now,
Hmm.
which is why the market is so super excited right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Great feedback. And John, when you look at the roadmap to success, how do you start? Where do you start?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I would always attribute, to things. I think we had said this before, just taking the technology piece first out of it, because that's going to have you really kind of focused on what use cases and those, what's your scope that you want to put around this agent? What do you want it to do, to do? And taking that technology first, completely out of it. Now, once those are in place and we start to really dig deep inside of those, yeah, I do want to talk about it, because I mean technology is a big piece of this, right? But understand, getting the use case, the requirements, and the scope of it. Once that's done, we do want to bring this back and look at it from a technology perspective. And what we've seen here is you're really ensuring that there's that tightly scope that we talked about. What is going to be that agent's roles and their permissions? So it acts confidently with inside guard, the guardrails that we put inside there, grounding that agent, in our enterprise data through secure connectors and retrieval augmentation generation ensures its reasoning is based on your truth and not the open wide web or some other, sources, data sources that's going to contaminate, the data that it's going to get back to your users. So then once we kind of have those pieces, in a closed loop learning scenario, we can then start to allow those agents to review those outcomes. I talked about that, having, administrators or business people have access to review the outcomes of it, giving feedback and continuously improving those with a governed feedback cycle. Don't put it up there. Don't get that agent and just kind of put it up on an agent. Just kind of let it set it out there. Have a continuous feedback loops on it, so we can tell them, hey, this is what the agent has been doing successfully. And back over to Arnold's point, hey, here are some of the things where we've gotten some low scores on some of the questions or actions it's been providing. What are we going to do with that, right? So now we have access to that data, but make sure, hey, obviously with the feedback, but the real best practice is going to be the cultural piece. Successful organizations where we put this into treat AI not as a replacement for people, but as a partner. And I think that's one of the best pieces to kind of go inside some of those.
Yeah, great advice on that last point. Pooja, close us out. I mean, best practices, but from a product perspective, I would imagine you're having to look at things differently, right? To scale across multiple constituents, multiple industries, multiple personas. What do you typically look for and recommend in these types of situations?
So I'll tell you a secret why Microsoft is ahead of the curve and
Mhm.
why we are doing so well with AI is because we don't build our product, looking at the technology, what it can do today. We imagine what technology should be able to solve, how we can transform, and we make it happen. And I love what Arnold said. Don't worry about what kind of an answer you're getting.
Yeah.
It will work. Believe in it, it will work. But at the same time, don't think about it like a magic wand which will solve all your current problems. You have to think about what do you want to achieve. Think about the goal that you want to look at it. Don't look at a process and say, oh, this is a bottleneck, let me replace this part of the process with an AI and I'll automate it and everything will work.
Mhm.
Look at what do you want, where you want to go, how you can transform your business, imagine the unimaginable, and
Mhm.
believe that AI will solve the problem. Look at the problems which are too complex for you. Think about it, where it was maybe too time consuming, where maybe it was expensive for you to add humans to do that. Like we're talking to a lot of customers where millions of revenue comes from this long tail, but the size of each opportunity is so small that they cannot put humans in there. But if they don't serve these customer well, they're losing a business. And it's like, where can AI help? How do we do things differently? I'll give you a great example of one of our sales qualification agent customer, Sandvik. Sandvik is a uh, big European drilling manufacturing company. When they looked at our agent, they imagined on how will the new world look like. They,
Mhm.
instead of asking how AI can help my seller prioritize 50, 100, 200 accounts, they said, what if one seller could oversee the entire country? And it was like, how do I expand drastically? That's how they thought about it. They shifted the
Mhm.
seller's role from being a traditional seller to being an AI supervisor. By doing this, each seller can now manage thousands of accounts.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you just think about how AI can prioritization is my problem, how can I look at the key customer, you will never be able to transform your business. Look at what they did. And now AI agents qualify lead, they engage with their account, they surface insight, while human focuses on monitoring, controlling, fine-tuning agent, unblocking agent, and the impact is transformational. Now, with this, they can reach out to thousands of customers who were previously unserved. And look at the impact that the customers are having, the value that they are providing to the customer. Every customer gets a personalized response. Every inquiry get attention. Every interaction feels more meaningful. Even smaller customers feel valued, and they would go to a company like this, which responds to their need. We doing research with the customers. They don't mind AI reaching out or AI responding. They want the problem to be solved. Look at what
Mhm.
Arnold did. 1800 flower, 1800 flowers did. They were like, we get a huge volume. on Valentine Day. We want to serve every business that comes to us. How AI can help it without thinking that, oh, we can only manage 10,000 with the number of people that we have. The idea was that we can serve every customer, and that's the vision that you look at, and that's how you solve it. So the what I would say is the fastest way to go slow is stay still. Like Arnold said, go try.
Yeah.
Try, look at it differently, see what you can transform, imagine the unimaginable, and I guarantee it'll work for you.
Yeah, amazing, amazing content. And again, just want to thank our keynote speakers for today. And this was, informative, educational, but more importantly, fun. And hope everybody was able to take a couple nuggets out of this conversation. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you reach out to Arnold, Pooja, John via LinkedIn, connect with them. They produce a lot of great content and things of that nature. I think as we kind of move forward, the thought process is don't be a laggard. This is not the time to sit idle. Try it. Create some small use cases and things like that. And, if not, then you will be left behind. In closing, we will have a copy of this video that we'll send out to each of the constituents. We'll also have the deck for further reference, and then we'll also have 5 blogs that tie into this particular messaging. So on behalf of CompuSoft, on behalf of our amazing keynote speakers, thank you for attending today's webinar. We really appreciate it. And this concludes the session for today. Thanks, y'all. All right.